karma's not a bitch, she's a mirror.
Today's episode sparks any new ideas in you. Please hit follow and leave a quick review for me. So I read every single one, and it helps us to get more eyes on all this great conversation we're having. On to the episode. Welcome, my friends, to another incredible episode of Purpose-Driven Progress. As always, I am your host, Jacob Hicks. And today I've got somebody that's like kind of right in my wheelhouse. So we're going to be really kind of speaking each other's language. So it's going to be a fun one today. Because today I've got Dalton Jensen, a business development pro with over a decade in sales and a knack for helping companies sharpen their message, streamline their systems, and actually get results. He's currently with P Club, where he helps customer-facing teams get clear, lean, and effective. Dalton, my friend, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, man. This is really fun. Really
Yeah, so
appreciate
we're excited to have you, man. So,
yeah.
kind of walk us through, people know my background a little bit. It sounds like you and I are, kind of on the same wavelength here, but what's your sales journey been like? How did you get to where you are?
Yeah, man. So I started in sales over a decade ago. I started in cars. I started selling cars a long time ago. And from then just started progressing more, to B2B sales. And then, started doing trainings with people in teams. And then ended up, at P Club, where I do all of their go-to-market outbound strategies. I do a lot of cold calling. So this is a new department, so I'm like a player coach in that area for Chris Orlob, and it's great, man. So that's where I'm at. I'm really good at the go-to-market stuff, the cold calling. I like that. So that's where I play, man.
So let's dig into it, man. So
Sure.
I got a couple of questions here for you. So
Yeah,
I feel like, and I know from personal experience, but I feel like at some point, salespeople in general, I feel like we kind of get a bad rap sometimes.
Sure.
And I feel like, car sales folks, I feel like they kind of get the brunt end of it sometimes. Has that been your experience?
Sometimes. Yeah, dude, here's the thing with any sale. You're just not, you're not going to be liked right off the bat, so car sales kind of like pest control or solar or some of these other ones that are just they're door to door, man. They're very aggressive because the reality is the life cycle of that type of sale is cars or pest control, right? You knock on somebody's door, it's out of the blue. You do a really good job at delivering the problem, because in sales, that's probably the biggest thing that you are up against is most people don't know how to articulate their problems.
Sure.
And if they do, it's not that well. So as a salesperson, and this is something that I try to get better at every day, which is articulating someone else's problems better than they can.
Yeah.
And so you knock on a door or you talk to somebody when they come and buy a car, and you do really well at that. You start digging in, they realize I do hate bugs. Yes, they're everywhere. Oh my goodness. And it's kind of a shock. So they're like, okay, I do need to think about it because I didn't know about this, but you're making a good point. I need a minute, right? Well, the problem is in sales, we know that we probably don't have a second chance, right? When someone says, hey, I'll call you back, they're probably not going to call you back.
Yep.
So you've got to really try to be tactful and get that sale on the first one, because we've all had this happen too, including me, which is you do a really good job at articulating their problems, helping them become problem aware, helping them become solution aware. And then you don't get the deal and they go buy from someone else. That's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
And so those types of sales where they have to be quick, you have to do a good job at telling them what their problem is, telling them the solution, and then getting the deal right there. Those can sometimes be rough sales because you're a little pushy.
Yeah.
Or sometimes a lot pushy. And those guys give us a bad name. But the reality is that, I made way more money than the sleazy, pushy car sales guys. So, you get better at it and you make more money. So there you go. But yeah,
I love it.
It's tough, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I've definitely been there. Cause I remember, it's not exactly the same thing, but I sold suits for a long time, and you feel that, right? Especially as a salesperson, you want to close, right? Because you know that if they walk out the door, you're SOL. You're probably
you're just not going to see them again. It's just the reality. Yep. And that's retail, by the way. That's how retail works.
Oh yeah. Yes, it is. But I want to talk a little bit more about cold calling, right? Because I feel unless you're a even if you are a salesperson, that can be less a nasty word, right? Nobody wants to cold call. So,
Sure.
What's your experience been like with it? You said, you profess, you love it, right? So,
yeah.
Have you always loved it, or did you develop some things that made you like it more, or how did you get to where you are?
Here's the thing. The reason that I love it isn't because it's easy for me. And it's not because it's necessarily fun, but it's just what you pointed out. No one else does it. So it's really a blue ocean. And then if other people do it, they're not good at it. You see a bunch of cold calling training online because everybody thinks they want to do it.
Yes.
They're like,
that's
okay,
why
I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to
make my first million.
I have a script. I've got this. And then it's like, well, yeah, but the first time you get hung up on, or, you know, like in my case, I call VPs and CROs. So VPs of sales and CROs. And it hurts, man. Like when you call a CRO or a VP and they have SDR teams whose whole job is to cold call. And that CRO says like, go find another job, stop cold calling me, like, and hangs up on you. It's like, first of all, that's just bad juju, man. Your SDR team's not going to, I believe in karma. Okay. And by the way, the best definition I've ever heard of karma is from Conor McGregor. Or no, sorry, not Conor McGregor. It was Dustin Poirier when he fought Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor book is like, Dustin Poirier came on the mic and he said, karma's not a bitch, she's a mirror. That was the best definition I've ever heard. And so anyway, that hurts, man. That stings. Like, you're a sales leader. You couldn't even be gracious with me. Like, cause that's the best call is when I call somebody and they're like, hey dude, I know cold calling's hard. I'm a VP of sales. My guy's cold call. This really isn't relevant for me. It's not a problem we're trying to solve right now. Thanks so much. And you're like, okay, cool. Thanks. Click. And then you move on. But cold calling is a blue ocean if you can do it right. That's why I say I love it, because it's really not, there's not a lot of competition. There's a ton in email. There's a ton in LinkedIn DMs and all that stuff, but like have a conversation with somebody, right? That's the idea. Yeah.
I love it. Well, I think you're absolutely right. Like it is like you said, it's a blue ocean where, I mean, I feel like people, I don't know where this kind of switch flipped, but at some point I feel like people started to believe that like the cold outreach just doesn't work anymore. And I mean, like, I don't really know why that happened or where that came from.
You hear it all the time. Like, and so here's the thing. First of all, you know, we know how social media works. Like it's only the you know, the fiery posts that get likes. So some of it is for clicks, because it's certainly not, but the other part is it's like really hard. Like a lot of people got into sales in 2020 when it was easy. Like in 2025, it's not, we're kind of back to like pre-COVID, you know, early sales where it was like difficult. You had to have skills and you had to be multifaceted, right? So like when people say build relationships, you have to do everything. You have to do it all. Like, you've got to be able to build relationships simultaneously as making good cold calls, simultaneously, you know, closing deals when they're ready to close versus nurturing deals. Like you have to be good at all of that. And what we got into was all these sales gurus just picking a lane, and they turned into marketing people, not salespeople, because they picked a niche. And like salespeople, you have to be good at everything. You have to be good at email. You have to be good at cold calling. You have to be good at script writing. You have to be good, you know. And if you're a full cycle AE, you got to be good at more than that. You got to be good at doing demos and closing and nurturing while you do that. And it's like, this is a hard job.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not easy, man.
It's not, no, you're right. It's not easy. It's never been easy. And I don't think it'll ever be easy, honestly. Like, I mean, sales always, like, I don't know. I feel like people are like, oh, I'm going to get into sales. I'm going to make a gazillion dollars and then, you know, I'm going to have no problems, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, you can make good money, but it's going to be hard. Like you're just going to have crappy days. Like I really believe that like salespeople, especially particularly like outside sales folks or outbound at least.
Yeah.
I really believe that they kind of straddle the world between like true entrepreneurship, like owning your own business, and like the generally W-2 kind of job. Just because you gotta be like self-starters where you're going to have people tell you to like get lost, and you have to be okay with that, smile, and then dial again.
Yeah. You got to keep going. And that's the thing is like, I was just talking to somebody else this morning about that. It just takes a different type of person with a unique mindset, because you're right. It's like, we just, I mean, it never hurts less. Like, I think, you know, you dive into the realm of like psychopath when you say like, I love rejection, but like, no, dude, it stings, but like, I got to be able to like
shrug it off.
She's like, all right, this sucks. Keep going. It sucks. And you kind of lean into it. That's why I like stoicism as far as like a sales philosophy. You know?
Yeah. Yep. I know exactly what you're speaking to. But you kind of mentioned earlier, like, you know, doing a cold call well. So like, in your opinion, like what makes a good cold call?
Yeah. Confidence. So there's a lot of different people who, you know, there's a lot of scripts out there. There's a lot of things. So you have people like permission-based openers and this type of value, and you lead with problems here and blah blah blah, and it's all good. But the reality is like, if you're confident, if you got the sauce, if you can speak clearly and slow down and you've got like charisma, that's what you need in a cold call. Like, the script doesn't really matter. In fact, I've seen so many, they're like, oh, permission-based opener. Like, I have a script that I like because it works for me.
Yeah.
That's just, but I know people who are like, hey, how are you, dude? How's it going? And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm great. What do you need? And I'm like, I couldn't say, it wouldn't work for me, but that doesn't mean he's doing it wrong. Like, first of all, you got to also understand the numbers globally. Like, cold calling is a grind. Like, you're not going to be you know what I mean? You're not going to blow anything out of the water, 40, 50% connect rates and 40, 50%, closing rate. It's just not going to happen. So you just got to realize, like, I have to be confident in my message. I have to be confident in who I'm talking to. And then I think you do have to have a script. You just find the one that works for you. Yeah. And then just dial, dude. And then just pick it up and go. Because like the best connect rates, like an average connect rate on a cold call is 5%. The best connect rates, like I get around 20 to 25% connect rate. That still means like I'm only having a conversation 1 out of every 4. It's just tough, dude, Yeah. And then if you're in the you're having a conversation 1 out of every like 12.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's just hard. But yeah, you do need a lot of confidence. That's the thing that people miss a lot.
Yeah, well, I think in my opinion, I think it's more than confidence. I think it's just grit. Like, and the only the only really like understanding I can find for like true grit is just like a willingness to suck it up and keep going. Like, just like regardless of what's going on. But I wanted to talk about scripting a little bit because I feel like, again, people like, particularly if they're not like salespeople, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to write a script. I don't want to like memorize this thing and sound like a robot. Like, in my experience, like, you need to like have a script because you need to like understand what you're going to say and you have to practice it. Do you guys practice a ton what you're doing?
Absolutely. Well, listen, everybody says that. I don't want a script because I'll sound like a robot. Well, then my rebuttal to that is, don't sound like a robot. That's your fault. Because every TV show you like, every movie you like, every TV show you like has a script. And have you ever seen a movie script? Have you ever seen a screenplay script?
Yep.
They're dude, it's like pans over, somber face, tone. Like, it's very it's more detailed than what we give salespeople. And the reality is like, what makes a good movie and a bad movie? What makes a good actor and a bad actor? It's how well the actors internalized the script and made it their own.
Yes. Yeah.
So you 100%. Have to have a script. You got to know what you're saying. So that's the first thing is like, scripting is important. If you don't want to sound like a robot, that means you didn't practice. If you sound like a robot, that means you didn't practice well enough.
Yep.
The second thing, and this goes to how well you can internalize the script, right? Because if I told you to cold call a bunch of people, like you have a hobby, right? Like wrestling. If I told you to go cold call a bunch of wrestling coaches, would you need a script? Like, probably not, because you'd know exactly what to say. Like, if I was a wrestling coach for 20 years and I had a solution that solved a specific problem for a wrestling coach, I don't need a script. I'm just going to call them because I know exactly what I'm going to say. It's the same thing, which brings me to my second point is like, if you want to get really good at cold calling, you got to know exactly who you're talking to and how you solve their problems. Like, the list is actually more important than the script.
Well, now that comes back to like preparation for that, like that, like it means like researching, like, who am I calling? Like, especially if you just have like some random list, you're just door knocking a neighborhood or something, it's a little bit different, I think. But
sure.
I mean, if you're like, but if you're calling on like VPs especially, and like doing like, you need to be doing some significant research on that, and then understanding like the product and service that you're providing. Because I mean, you got to be the expert, right? Like, you got to be the expert and bring the solution. And
not only that, but like, we don't need to make 150 cold calls a day. Like, if you have a hyper targeted list with a very relevant message, and only pushback here, Jacob, is if you have relevance, it's that trumps personalization. Do you get this, right, Jacob? Somebody will, because we're both podcast hosts. Somebody will DM you and be like, "Hey, Jacob, loved your last episode. Do you want to buy XYZ?" And you're like, "Dude, I don't need that. Like, do you want to buy whatever?" It's like, I don't need it. Like, thanks for listening to my podcast. Really appreciate it. I'm not in the market for what you're selling. So
Yeah.
my only point there is like, if you have a highly targeted list with an extremely relevant message and a problem to be solved, your cold calls are going to be fine.
Yeah. And I think that's
can,
really the point.
Yeah. Then you can confidently talk about it and you can write your script and you got to finesse it and tweak it. But like, if you know what you're talking about, you know who you're talking to, and you know what they care about, the cold call's easy.
Yeah. Well, I like the finessing piece that you were just mentioned. I think that's like people don't understand that either. It's like when you, like you said before, like when you internalize a script and you practice it, a whole bunch of times for 15 minutes, like every morning or whatever whatever you're doing, like eventually, like your own kind of verbiage starts to come out, right? Like, hey, I'm trying to make this speech or this, make this point. So, and like, here's what I think I'm going to say. And I just say it a bunch. That eventually, like what my proper script I'm actually going to say to you is kind of more or less the same thing.
Right. Exactly. So that's the thing with cold calling. I mean, that's like, so cold calling is really more of a marketing function.
Yeah.
Than it is a sales function.
Get the eyes on you.
Well, and not only that, but you really got to know who you're targeting. You really got to know who cares about your product enough to pay for it. Yeah.
Which I think a lot of like salespeople and entrepreneurs can miss that point. Like that's
totally
like getting the list. Like yes, obviously, right? But it's really what we're talking about is who is your target audience?
Yeah,
who are
but
the
like
people
who
you
goes
actually
into
be
the
talking
list?
to? Yeah, like you need to figure out who those people are and like where they hang out, kind of in a way, right? Like are they like doing certain things in groups on LinkedIn or like are they local stuff? Are they going to like certain clubs or golf clubs or whatever else? Like that's really what we're talking about.
So there's a lot of marketing expertise that kind of goes into cold calling. I mean, it's really a demand gen function more than it is like a sales function, right?
I think so.
You got to realize like cold calling is capturing. So the only difference between cold calling and a Facebook ad is timing.
Yeah. Yep.
So like if I get a Facebook ad, I know the timing is at least close, right? Like why would you click on my ad if the timing's not somewhat there? But a cold call, so like Facebook ads, you're like, I know I've got the right people. I know I've got the right place and I know they're interested and I know it's the right time. So now I just got to figure out if it's the right fit. With a cold call, I know it's the right person. Hopefully I know it's the right message again, hopefully. And I know it's the right, not time, but like, I know it's the right person. So I just don't know if it's the right time yet. But like if you go to a marketing person, Facebook and ads cold calling is kind of the same thing. Like 5% of your market is going to buy today or within the next 30 days.
Yeah.
The majority of the chunk, that 60, 70%, they're buyers, but they're not like, they don't know yet. And so your cold calling is really like, I want to catch the 5%, but I really want to like get the wheels turning for some people.
Yeah.
And working it out. And so then you just hope that you have, you build your list right, you score it right, and then you put everybody who is the 5% who are going to answer in your list of 1,000, you put them at the front if you score it right. And there's some ways to do that, but like, then you got a better chance, like, of getting that. So, yeah.
But again, like you said, I mean, you can do all of that perfectly, but at the end of the day, it is a grind, and it will always probably be that way to some degree. But I'm curious though, because like I said, like this is really kind of like top of funnel, right? Like what we're talking about, like where we're like trying to reach out to people, see if it makes sense, like all that kind of stuff, whether it be cold calling, marketing, networking, a whole bunch of whatever.
Yeah. Whatever.
So like in my opinion, like all those things, prospecting in some way is absolutely critical, and you have to have that in your daily calendar, I think. But like, what do you think about like successfully like following up over the long term? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, dude, when I got into sales, I got a sales playbook and it was 2 lines. It was, if you can make them laugh, you'll get a deal. And the second line was, fortune is in the follow-up.
Yes. Yep. We love that.
And we forgot about it. Everybody who got a job in sales in 2020, who started selling in 2020, I got spoiled, man. People were buying right then. It didn't take a lot of follow-up. Dude, it's still like, it's a grind, man. You got to follow up with people. You got to follow them a lot. My follow-up rule is really simple: buy or die.
Yeah, that's what I tell people too. Is I will, if you get like if I'm trying to sell something to you, especially like early days, but when I was trying to sell something to you, like I was gonna follow up with you until either you bought or you or I died.
Or you called the FTC and told me to F off. Right? Like, that's what's gonna happen. That's how this is gonna go down. And a lot of people, and this is why I kind of tease, people in general with like, what was I going to say? I tease people who think they want to be in sales. Cause like, if that bothers you, if you're listening to this and that rubs you the wrong way, you should probably rethink your career in sales.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen it too, especially, you're doing something similar to myself where it's like, I mean, people don't realize that follow-up, at least in my opinion, is like the strong understanding of like, if I meet you anyway, cold calling or whatever else, and I realize that you're a reasonable, good prospect for what I'm trying to do, then I'm going to, like, I have a plan in place to follow up with you in some, reasonable cadence, right?
Yeah.
And most people just have no plan. They meet somebody at a network event, it goes great, they get their phone number, they call them once for a coffee, never heard anything again, and that's it. Like,
yeah,
that
you
doesn't
just
work.
you just get discouraged. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. Sales isn't for everybody. I was just talking just had that conversation with somebody today. It's like, it's okay that it's not for you. Like, I don't think I'm better than you because I know how to sell. It just, it's just probably not for you.
Right. We're just more, I don't know.
Yeah, we just got a different skill set. Like everybody needs salespeople, just like everybody needs guys who change oil, right? Oil change technicians.
Yeah.
And I'm not better than anybody else. It's just like, I don't have the patience to do oil changes. Just like you don't want to cold call people. I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. I don't ever shame anybody. Like, I'm not part of the hustle culture that's like, oh, shame or whatever. But it just is what it is. So
yeah. Let's say you do like make a cold call and you have a decent conversation with somebody, but they're saying like something to the effect of like, not right now. So like usually like when I'm recommending like talking to folks, usually I'm recommending some sort of like a 10 by 10 or a 36 touch, some form of that. Is that what you guys are doing, or what do you guys?
Yeah. So it depends on the kind of the disposition. So there's actually a whole kind of like process to cold calling. And if you complete that, that would be considered a completion. Because if I talk to somebody and they say not right now, I would follow up with them within the quarter.
Yep.
Just give it 2 months and then follow up with them again. Because number one, they're not going to remember you. I know you think they're going to remember you, but they're not. They don't.
They got more things on their mind than
some
guy that called us 20 minutes ago. Yeah. Yep.
Tomorrow they're going to forget that they got a cold call, unless it was like really bad or really good. But if it's a good phone, like they're probably going to forget. Like the chances of them remembering in 3 months that you called them is very slim.
Yes. And and that's okay. They got other stuff on their plate. Like,
I don't know. Yeah, man. It's the reality is you can't be scared of all of that.
No.
I heard someone say once that sales training was just mindset training in disguise because no one will pay for mindset training. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. We're trying to get you super hyped up for the next big goal.
Yeah. It's just like, you're not going to hire a mindset coach, but you will hire a sales coach. And really the difference is not that much.
Nope. Because I mean, like I said, at the end I'm a really, really big believer that when it comes to, just life in general, I think, but I mean, sales and entrepreneurship and all this stuff, like it starts and ends with in your head. Like if I think Henry Ford said that whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And like, that's really where it comes from, I think.
Yeah. And that's the confidence piece. Like if I have a kid who's got swagger and he's just, so this is the quote, if you're in sales, you just find a lot of them, but it's the better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yep.
Look, if I have somebody who's not afraid, who has a good mindset, like I'll teach them how to.
I mean, like so much of sales, like product knowledge and like follow up and all this stuff. These are just skills that you can develop. You can learn them. You
can learn that. And if you're in a company that doesn't have good product training or domain training, they shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Yep. Just go out and do
it.
Unless
you're the guy who's building it, then that's different. But
yeah. Oh man. Well, Dalton, I could just talk to you forever, man. I feel like we would get into the weeds about sales stuff. You're like, what are we listening to?
No, man, I'm here for whatever you want, dude. I got time.
But I wanted to, as we kind of wrap up the episode here, I know we were talking offline that, you're not necessarily a big goals guy, but you like to focus on like the systems and stuff, right? Like the processes that you're developing. So can you just speak to that a little bit more? Because I mean, I love talking about that, and I feel like that's a miss that some folks can lose sight of too.
Yeah, when I was doing revenue consulting for companies, the biggest thing that we were up against wasn't necessarily sales training. Like, I met a lot of people who said, "Oh, dude, if I can get in front of the right person, I can close them." And And I really, for most people, I genuinely believe that's true. But the problem is you don't have the system in place to be successful.
Yep.
Like you have, like, think about it this way. Like on average, you have to talk to 25 people to have 13 to 16 intelligent conversations to get 6 to 8 proposals, to get on 2 to 3 calls to close one deal.
Yep.
You have to talk to 25 people to close one deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, you know what I mean? And you've only talked to 16 this year. Oh, I know why you haven't sold. Well, I know why you haven't hit your goal, right?
Yeah, you didn't talk to
like that's
people.
easy, right? And that's a process. That's the process, right? That's the sales process, right? So in marketing, they call it a funnel. In sales, we call it a pipeline.
Yep.
Like what stage are you at? And so, yes, it's the process. It's like, how do we get people into the pipe? And by the way, the number is worse before the pipe. So if you got to talk to 25 people to sell one, and that might be exaggerated, but I'll tell you what, you don't know if it's exaggerated because you don't know your numbers.
Yeah. And that's
You know
the
what
other
I'm
piece.
saying?
Like that's kind of the next, for anybody listening, that's kind of like the next kind of evolution, I would say, in a salesperson, when it's when you start, you're doing enough of the general, like the cold calling or the door knocking or whatever it is you're doing to like get in front of people. And that's where you start to elevate, where you're like, all right, I'm doing enough of the activity. Now I can start to figure out, okay, based on, I'm talking to, 50 people a day or whatever it is, you're doing some crazy numbers. And like you start to evaluate, okay, I'm talking to this many people, having these kind of conversations, and I'm getting this kind of conversion. People are actually, again, getting into the pipeline or getting into the funnel, whatever you want to call it. And like that's really where you start to, like, I have a lot of fun at that point, where like you're like, okay, now I can tweak my script, or I can tweak my my process to get people into the pipeline, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think so. That's the whole thing. That's why goals are, if you set a goal, you've got to know how to get there. All the good salespeople I know exactly what it takes for them to get one deal. They know how many, demos they need to hold. They know how, they know the numbers there, right? So
And
you have like,
and
how many
sorry,
leads
not to interrupt you, but just for clarity, like that's their individual numbers. Like that's not going to be like, you can find stats all over the place and they're broad strokes true. But when he's talking about these numbers, like those are like their individual numbers based on like what they or individuals are doing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And so, well, no, I appreciate that, because all of the good salespeople that I know, they know how many people they need to talk to get a qualified lead, how many of those, how many qualified leads they need to turn into an appointment, and how many appointments to a demo, and how many demos they need to this. They know that process. So every day they go in and they're like, I have a goal of 10 and I know what I need to do today to hit 10. Like I have to do like my cold calling, right? Like I know I have to make this many calls a day to ensure that I hit my goal by the end of the month. And if I don't, then that means something's wrong in the process and I know where to go to fix it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm making 36 calls a day and I'm connecting with 6 people and I'm not getting an appointment, then it's my messaging or my list.
Yep.
Right? Like if I'm making 36 calls and I'm not connecting with 6 people, it's my scoring. I have a scoring problem. I have a data problem. But see, like I know exactly where to go to fix the problem once I know my numbers. So that's why goals, it's not so much about goals as it is about the process to hit the goals.
Yeah. And like I said, like that, the process is really, really key. Like, I mean, it's the same thing as like we were talking about with the follow-up. Like you have to know what you're doing, and you have to, and like the other piece of this too, that we didn't really touch on, is the consistency piece, right? Like if you said, like you said, you have to make 36 calls to talk to 6 people or whatever, right? If you're doing 36 calls every single day, then you have a ton of data to really be able to pull from, saying like, okay, it is my messaging, it is my list, it is whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're doing like 36 calls one day and then you do 2 the next day and then you don't do any the rest of the week, and then maybe you'll do 4 on the next Monday, you're not doing nearly enough activity to get the data that you need to get better at what you're doing. No,
totally. And yes. And so that's, a lot of people will get that confused, but you're totally right. So yeah, I agree, man. And this has been great. Thank you so much, dude.
Yeah. Well,
Unless you
thank
have more
you.
questions, dude. I could talk about this all day. But it's
Well,
your
maybe we'll do a
podcast.
part two. Maybe we'll do the part two in the cards.
All right,
But
dude.
Dalton, yeah, thank you so much for coming on today, man. This has been absolutely fantastic. But where can people, find out more about you or P Club?
Yeah, dude. So it's pretty easy. You can just follow me on LinkedIn, and P Club is pclub.io.
Love it. Well, I'll make sure to leave the links in the show notes so anybody that's listening can find you super easy. But Dalton, thank you again. And for anybody listening, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.